Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the official LFC Lingerie Fighting Championships podcast. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me today, he is the host of the Cheap Heat Productions podcast, my main man, Maurice. Maurice, it's a pleasure and a privilege. How are you?
Mike, we've talked about this for a long time. It's an absolute pleasure to finally be on your show, man. How are you?
I'm good. First of all, it was an absolute pleasure to be on your show. And I will say this because it's funny, and you and I were talking about this. Now, we love Sean because Sean does amazing work on the LFC Facebook page. But Canned Heat, I made the joke. It was Jamiroquai, man. My pop culture brain immediately went to Jamiroquai. I was going to put on my vote for Pedro and start dancing like Napoleon, bro.
Did you show that to Sean, or did somebody must have told him anyway? I think because he edited it out.
That was me.
Yeah, Canned Heat. It didn't upset me. I just thought it was funny as fuck.
I thought it was hilarious too, because like I said, my pop culture brain immediately goes back to 2004 and Napoleon Dynamite, one of the most iconic days.
Good work, I say.
Oh, yes, exactly. Now, Mr. Pete Productions podcast, you are hitting on all cylinders. I mean, you're going to be a part of this AEW media call, man. You're doing a lot of great things with your podcast. I got to first and foremost say congratulations, Maurice.
Thanks very much, man. It's similar to you, like, and I see you're consistent. Yeah. Since I started this thing, I've been consistent. I've done at least two episodes per week for the last 16, 17 months now. And I think that, if you were to say, oh, I'll take a break from it, or I'll just maybe skip it this week, or I won't release anything, I think that's when you kind of fall behind with what you're doing. You just have to keep it going. There's no wiggle room for stopping. Like, there's so much out there that the podcasting thing, it's a very competitive world, as you know as well. But to be honest with you, I don't give a shit. Like, if someone wants to watch mine, that's fine. I don't really watch that many podcasts or things like that. The very odd few I'd watch or listen to. But for me, it's just about trying to be consistent and just trying to get, the person doesn't have to be famous. They don't have to be famous people, but it's nice to get people that are well known on the podcast as well. And we've had a few similar and the same guests on both our shows, and probably will continue to the future.
Absolutely. And for me, I look at it from a stance too, Maurice. I got started on my end. Like, I had a lot of independent wrestlers or independent artists. And I think my first ever, it's funny because my first ever famous person I ever interviewed from wrestling was Evan Courageous, who was in WCW as a part of 3 Count. Remember Evan Courageous?
Yep.
Oh, dude. And that's the thing too. It's one of those things where it doesn't matter if they're famous. And I like that mindset because it's like everyone has a story to tell. If you want to come on and have the platform and give someone a forum, I think that's wonderful. And I think that's a great outlook. And that's what a lot of people need to look at it as.
Yeah, my two highest viewed podcasts are from a fellow, very nice guy, Leonard, Mario Mancini, he was known as in the WWE. And he's a great storyteller. He's got these fantastic stories from the late 80s, early 90s. He's the first guy The Undertaker ever fought as well, which is crazy. Undertaker's debut match, like, he was the one guy. His match was recorded before Undertaker debuted at Survivor Series, but it didn't air till after Survivor Series. So technically, from a televisual point of view, it's his second match, but really it was his first taped match. So
it's crazy to think because it's an honor. I mean, when people talk about the first episode of Raw when the Undertaker wrestled Damien Demento, for God's sake.
Yes.
A lot of people talk about that, but they don't actually go into detail about having one of Undertaker's first match. And I did see that interview. Great job. But god dang, man, that's awesome just to think about, and just being in with someone who's debuting, who's coming from WCW during his tenure as Mean Mark Callis. And here's this Undertaker character that's taken off for 30 years. And now he's a part of the WWE Hall of Fame. So how awesome is that he finally gets his due in the Hall of Fame, that being the Undertaker?
Yeah, I was kind of worried about the Hall of Fame this year because the announcements have been very late, but now obviously when he was announced last week, I was delighted. It's not a surprise, obviously, that he's going in. He absolutely deserves it. He lived and breathed the business from even back in the day when he was trying to live the character in his own life and just keeping to himself and trying to find some shady strip clubs with not too many people in it, with the Godfather to hang with, etc., etc. But he lived like a really kind of closed life out of respect for the character, and you have to hold it up to him for doing that for so long, man.
I mean, it's dedication and it's the love and passion you have for your character. And I can respect that because everything nowadays, when people talk about kayfabe being dead, it's one of those things where it's like the commitment. Nobody has that commitment anymore, whether it be on social media or what have you.
It's these things as well, man.
Right, exactly. It's the phones, dude. Like if we didn't have our phones, we didn't have internet or anything like that. And nothing is secretive or really private anymore, you know?
Yeah, somebody put up a picture yesterday of Cody Rhodes in Poland on the way to Saudi Arabia. And then the guy, it went viral, all the wrestling websites writ about and whatever. And the guy posted up today and he said, no, that was a fake photo, but I just wanted to see what people's reaction would be. Like, I think it was a photo from Cody from years ago. And it was like, oh, I just met Cody at the airport in Poland on a layover to Saudi Arabia.
Well, well, dude, that's the talk. I mean, for me, and it's funny because isn't it amazing just to see someone like Cody Rhodes, who left the WWE in 2016, did this revolution with AEW, being one of the main focal points of AEW. Now he's going back in 2022. It's amazing what 6 years will do in 7 years, right?
Yeah, and I think like he obviously has a good relationship there. His family have a good relationship in WWE. It's not a surprise to me that he's going back. But ultimately, it seems that it came down to money. That if you believe what's been reported, but he's made a name for himself, and WWE are well aware of what AEW are doing. I still don't think Vince McMahon sees them as a competition, to be honest. But they're well aware of what Cody has been doing, and in fairness to Cody, his statue has risen from what he's done there. So, fair play to him. I hope he doesn't turn into Stardust again, though. For his sake.
The whole thing Dust, yes. But no, I mean, I gotta be honest with you, he made the most with that character. Like, it was funny.
Oh yeah,
it was funny. And then he, this, like, he made his own thing, like the Goldust would do, and then he just this. It's great, like that little nuance, right?
Yeah. I remember seeing him at an autograph signing in Dublin, and he was wearing the full thing in the toy store, signing everyone's autographs. Like, he had the face paint done and everything. So yeah, good family. I don't know if his wife is coming in with him. I've been hearing that she isn't, so that's not really a big deal. She's kind of more of a manager thing. So yeah, I think he'll do okay, but I don't think that he's an elite level superstar. Without disrespecting him, I just don't think he's on the level of, we'll say, there's not too many of them in WWE now. Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, and they're the only two top guys there, in my opinion.
Right. And I mean, for me, like watching his career, he was always Intercontinental Champion level to me. I mean, he had great just with the Intercontinental Championship, former tag team champion. He was always like mid for me. And that's not a bad thing because there was a lot of great workhorses that held that championship.
Yeah. And sure, you look at the mid card from the 90s, even guys like The Godfather, Gangrel, the APA at the time, the Dudley Boys, they were all considered mid card talent. But these days, there seems to be a lack of real top characters, I think, in the businesses, which I always talk to people about. Is there's not enough, there's a lot of wrestling on TV and wrestling matches, and that's brilliant. But I just don't think that there's enough time put into people's backgrounds, their characters. Why are they here? Why are they feuding with this guy? Just that's lacking, I think, these days compared to, we'll say, the 80s and the 90s, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I look at it from a stance too. What I loved about the Mae Young Classics and these Cruiserweight Classics that they used to do, you would get a background and you would tell the story of who they are and why they're competing here. I look at it from a stance too as well. Tony Khan is really big about the wrestling. And I mean, that's great to have like 20-minute matches or 30-minute matches, but also at the same time, some people don't have that attention span. And it's like, let's actually just have a story of why we got here. And then like, oh, here's a match. I think that's good to see the wrestling being, at the forefront, but at the same time, it's like to pull it back a little because we need some storytelling in there as well.
Yeah, I think when AEW did start with the long matches and the stuff like that, I found that WWE kind of dropped a lot of their kind of backstage segments and stuff like that, and they started running longer matches. There's actually more wrestling now on the show on Raw and SmackDown now than there was pre-AEW, I think. So I think they're worried about it from that standpoint, but still, I think there's wiggle room in there for someone like a Vince Russo or someone like that to come in with these ideas. Like I want to see the big boss man dragging the Big Show's father's hearse across the grass. I want to see the boss man feed Al Snow his dog. I want to see Austin come in a beer truck. You know, I want these crazy things to happen, and it can happen in the PG world if it's done right. That's another worry, I think, from a business point of view.
Right. Nice, fresh ground pepper. I like what you're going with that.
Yeah, pepper. I was talking to I had someone on the podcast last week. I think it was actually Mario Mancini as well. He wrestled the boss man, and I was like, didn't they turn him into such a bastard before he left? You know, like doing all those things, and then Undertaker hung him from the cell. Remember at Mania as well.
Yep.
He went through a lot there in the 90s.
Oh, you see, when everybody talks about that match, Taker and Bossman from WrestleMania 15, they always rank it as one of the worst Hell in the Cell matches. But I'm like, if you look at the story too, it's the corporate ministry. It accentuates the Undertaker. It accentuates the feud with the corporate ministry and the corporation itself. But I'm just like, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? It shows the power and he hangs him. It made sense with the story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, man. People like if you look back on that from with your 2022 hat on,
Yeah.
and everyone complains about everything,
Right.
it's probably not a good thing to be looking at, you know?
Oh, I agree, man. And well, it's also one of those things like Tegan Knox just did an interview talking about she feels like the WWE's going back to the Diva era. And it's like Rhea Ripley just wrestled 44 minutes on Raw, and there's 12 women featured in Saudi Arabia, the billboards. Like, there's a lot of progress too. And people talk about Sonya Deville being the first gay female to perform in Saudi Arabia. I mean, that's awesome, man. It's strides.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Like, and as we talked about kind of off camera, like Saudi Arabia has been when all this started, it was kind of tarred with the human rights and bits and pieces like that. And people are entitled to their opinions. But there's a lot of sports happening in Saudi Arabia now. There's Formula One. The wrestling's going to be a constant thing. I can see big boxing matches happening there again. I can see possibly even UFC over there. They just seem to be trying to change, I guess, people's outlook of the country, and they're just trying to modernize. And you have to remember that they're way behind someone like America or even here in Ireland, you know, when it comes to rights and stuff like that. But I think they're using these things to kind of progress them. They're doing the right thing, like, but I think people give out about it because of the past history. But if they want to be given a chance to try and show that they've changed as a country, well, then I'm all for watching it and see what happens.
I remember when they first did an Italian Lacey Evans at one of the Saudi Arabia shows, and guys like us in America will be like, oh, they've done this on Raw so many times. Who cares? But I'm like, if you look at that culture and giving the women hope there, it's like they've never seen anything like this. So of course it's going to be a big deal. Put yourself in their shoes. It's international flavor. It's something for everybody, you know, in their culture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think it's a massive deal. And I hope it works out for them. I think there's going to be at least 2 shows per year now. I think they're going to go back in October, maybe November. And I'm hearing rumors that we're going to get a UK stadium tour this September, or not stadium tour, but stadium pay-per-view in September 3rd or 4th, I believe.
Oh, I hope so for you guys, man.
There hasn't been one since SummerSlam 1991 was the last.
Oh my goodness. Well, yes. And then you had 92 at Wembley with Bret Hart.
Or 92, sorry. Yeah, 92.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the last big deal was the Bret Hart British Bulldog match in SummerSlam 92. I mean, it's rightfully deserved. I mean, like, you need something there. I mean, we had the days of the Rebellion pay-per-views and the Insurrection pay-per-views and
yeah,
and all that. So,
but
I mean,
they were glorified house shows, though, really, weren't they? They weren't pay-per-views.
I was going through my DVD collection. Do you remember the last Rebellion that they did there in 2002? Do you remember what the main event was?
I think Brock is on the cover. Is it Brock and Triple H? No?
No, that was so actually that's a good guess. So August was the global warming tour they did in Australia. That was Brock, and Triple H. But the last
triple threat.
Yes, but the last Rebellion pay-per-view was Brock versus Edge and Brock and Paul Heyman against Edge for the WWE Championship in a handicap match.
All right. Jesus, that's random.
It was. Like, they had Brock and Edge. They brought Booker T over from Raw to face Matt Hardy, Crash Holly against Funaki, Devon and Farouk very briefly when Reverend Devon was teaming against Farouk against Val Venus, Big Val Bovsky, and Chuck Palumbo. Oh my God, it was
Man, I was only watching the Royal Rumble. I think it was 2000 there a while ago, or 2001. I can't remember. It just auto played on my television. And the amount of guys that came out that were dead is just fucking scary. Like, like guys like Crash Holly, and then Test came out, and I was like, the Bulldog was in it. Who else was there? Like, and I was like, there was one stage where there was like 6 guys in the ring, and 5 of them were dead. Like, and it's crazy.
Well, yeah, if you think about it, when Bulldog came back in like 99, from like 99 to 2000, a good portion of those guys, unfortunately, are no longer with us.
Yeah, yeah. And that was the kind of that's a testament to back in the day and living the rock star life, I guess, I don't think it happens too much these days.
Well, no, everybody wants to play video games, Maurice. That's our thing. We have video games and
Yeah.
now. Yep.
Yeah, I guess back in the day they were just bored and they just had to party and stuff like that.
Oh my God, when you're friggin' going into people's hotel rooms and harassing them in wrestlers' court, you know what I'm saying? That there's no more
Yeah.
court anymore.
What's your opinion on people like approaching wrestlers in their personal downtime and asking them for selfies? And if you've seen someone at the airport that looked like they were in a hurry, would you stop them? And I wouldn't.
I'll see, now you're gonna flip the script on me. I like your style. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
it comes to the airport and stuff, no. If it's like 4 o'clock in the morning in general, if we're all trying to catch our flight, we all got jet lag, we're all tired. No. But I mean, if you do it respectfully, like, hi, I'm a fan of yours, man, please have a photo with you. Or like if you're in like public, that's fine. But the problem, if you bother them while they're eating or doing anything,
Oh yeah.
that's a no. Personally, me, I don't do it. I'm not the one who, like, after the show, like, I'll give you an example. Nassau Coliseum, right? Long Island, New York. The hotel is right across the street. I'm not taking my ass to the lobby of the hotel to go say hi. Can I have a photo? I'm not doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I know where the wrestlers stay when they come to Ireland.
Right.
It's very near the arena. Now sometimes I have waited outside the hotel just to take photos, not with them, but just of them getting on the bus and stuff like that. But then I see people and they're queuing up in the hallways, and then when they're coming back that night, the people outside the hotel, it's like I just I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd be afraid of like pissing people off, and I just don't want to do that.
That's my thing too. I don't blame you. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember when okay, so you know the show Entourage?
Yeah.
Okay. So the guy that plays E on the show was at an Islanders game, and he also not too long before that did like a guest appearance on Raw. Remember when John Cena fought Zack Ryder in the US Open Challenge in like
Oh yes, yes.
so they were like the special guests there that introduced him, and he was at a local bar in East Islip where I used to live called Maxwell's. Great bar, get yourself a nice burger and some beers, right? So he's just trying to have a chill night, and there's all selfies from people that I graduated high school with there, and the guy has a look on his face like, I just want to have a beer. I just want to be left alone. So I don't blame him. You know what I'm saying? You just want to be left alone and enjoy your meal,
Yeah, yeah. 100%, man, 100%. I just thought I'd ask because I'm curious to know, because I think me and you have a kind of similar mindset when it comes to things like that anyway.
Well, dude, we're pros. We're respectful. That's how we roll, Maurice. That's how we
Yep.
Now, for you, before we even get to the LFC chat, I have one more thing to ask you wrestling wise, and we'll mix
Yes.
Undertaker. Who's going to induct him? Kane, Shawn Michaels? Who are you picking? It has to be Kane. You know what I'm saying?
A lot
was alive.
we done the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view yesterday. It was at 5 p.m. in Ireland, so it was a nice early show. We were in the pub. There was about 20 of us there, and we were having this discussion as well. I think that he should induct himself.
Wow.
I think it should be just him talking. That's how important I think that this is. A lot of people are saying Vince, yeah, I don't know. But if I was to handpick someone to induct him, it would be Kane. But I think that this is so big, I think he should just do it himself. Just give him the mic and just let him talk. Let him tell his story.
You see, I like that idea too, because there's been a lot of people on Twitter. Everybody's like, this should just be the whole Hall of Fame should just be The Undertaker. Don't even worry about anyone else. It should just be The Undertaker telling stories and talking.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not going to be topped anyway. There's no way that guest has been, or that announcement's been topped anyway,
No, you like, who else are you gonna get? Like, I know it's Texas, but I mean, the Von Erich's already in there, Stone Cold's already in there. It's like, who else are we gonna put in this Hall of Fame, man?
Wow, if you try to think about who isn't there that should be.
Well, for me, I've always been with the celebrity wing just because he's always been on the show and he's been a fan. Like the fact that Regis Philbin or Cyndi Lauper is not in the celebrity wing is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
It's
I'm just trying to think. I just can't think off the top of my head. Someone that is in it, and she had a great match yesterday. Lita, what did you think?
Oh my God, dude. I'm going to say this right now. She looks great, and I cannot believe she's 46. I really cannot
Yeah,
believe that. I've been a fan of Lita since 2000 when she came in with S.A. Rios and then the Hardys, of course, Team Extreme. But dude, like she was great. Like it looked good. She got the standing ovation. I would love to see her have another one because her and Becky really gelled well.
yeah, and she's still well able to move, hitting moonsaults and everything like that. And yeah, I think she's going to get a few more matches because I think that was a very impressive performance. And on the flip side of that, then it looks like Bill Goldberg has wrestled his last match, or so he says, but
Well,
it's hard to know.
for 3 minutes, it was fine. You know what I'm saying? They told the story. He got 2 spears in, and then Roman choked him out. It was fine. You knew he was just there to put Roman over. Then that leads us to Roman and Brock at Mania, which, my God, Brock that F5 off the chamber and that power bomb to poor Bobby Lashley from Seth Rollins. Oh my God.
That match though, man, like I don't know unless they're planning on just unifying the belts, but that match did not need two belts. That match is big as it is.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, they're building it as champion versus champion now, not like a title unification match. So, I mean, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. I think it could end up being unification. I don't know. It's hard to know. They changed their minds a lot in the WWE, I'm told from people, so a lot could change between now and then.
Oh my God, with the amount of scripts that have been written, and it's like when freaking Gabe Sapolsky would throw clipboards in Ring of Honor. Things change on the fly.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of things that change, man, LFC Lingerie Fighting Championship really changing a lot of mindsets from the sex appeal side of things mixed with competitive nature and beautiful women of work of arts. Now, for you, you've interviewed a lot of great people, such as myself and a lot of amazing fighters. I know you just had Lauren the Adventurous Ceccarelli on the show.
Yeah, she's really nice, man. Really nice. Yeah.
Part of a human being. So I
Yeah.
got to ask you, Mr. Maurice, what kind of gravitated you and how did you get involved in learning about the LFC world?
I thought you were going to ask me who my favorite fighter
We'll
was
get
there,
to
and I
that.
was
We'll
thinking,
get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to
but
that.
no, I was on Twitter one night, and I don't really use Twitter that much because it's full of absolute bullshit and negativity, and just it's a it's an awful platform. But it's good for news and it's good for things like that. And so I had a recommendation, recommended you should follow this account,
Yeah.
and it was like lingerie fighting championship, and I was like, what is this? So I clicked onto it, and then I went onto the YouTube channel, and I was like, this is fucking great. Like, it's out there, it's ballsy, I like it, and it's a serious thing, like, and it's serious competition with the between all the athletes as well. And it's exactly what it says in the tin. And it was just, and the thing that kind of attracted me to it as well was like, okay, we live in this PC bullshit world now at the moment, and these guys are still using this as their product, and this is what it is, and fuck everyone. Not that it's disrespectful anyway. If people read into it, they'll know how the fighters are treated. They're treated very, very well. They're paid nicely from pay-per-view cuts and things like that, and you can do voting. But if someone looks from the outside at it, I can see why they kind of be like, oh, well, that's sexist, or that's one of these things, or whatever, like, that mentality. But when you research it, do your homework on it, it's legit. And I think it's brilliant, man.
Same.
I just hope he comes back to Europe.
Oh, I hope it does too. I mean, they've done Slovakia, and I mean, it's one of those things too, as well, the international exposure. But for me, I agree with you. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, exploitation. I'm like, really? Like these women, like we're not forcing anybody to put on a pair of lingerie and do their thing. If women want to do it, and it's very empowering for a lot of them. And I'm sure you've seen from the alumni, we've seen women in WWE, the former champion Roxy Roundhouse Michaels, aka Renee Michelle, has been there. We've seen so many women come from WWE, Independence, Impact, Ring of Honor be there. It's wonderful, and it brings everybody together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say that's the thing for the future as well. Like, you're going to see more people crossing over from wrestling, and the more the better. I can think of a few people that'd be really good now for, but obviously when they're tied into these contracts with WWE, and whether it be AEW or whoever, it's not really possible at the moment. But you never know what tricks Mr. Donnelly will pull.
This is very true. This is very true.
Yeah.
I mean, I look from a talent like Vita Von Starr, who fought at LFC 31, excuse me. Like she's done Ring of Honor. She just did Capital Championship Wrestling out in Delaware last night against Lufisto, which is a big deal with someone who's this legend as Lufisto. So, I mean, she's another one to look out for. There's so many talents that can really be involved with LFC. And I mean, you and I have talked about Katie Forbes. I mean, the wife of Rob Van Dam. And especially you want to talk about PC. You want to talk about PC? How about getting that Twitch channel shut down, man, with that segment on Impact with his wife, his girlfriend, and the whole nine with the whipped cream? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, Rob Van Dam, he's actually coming to Ireland next month for an event over here, Over the Top Wrestling. It's a massive promotion in Europe now, and it's here in Ireland. So we've got Scotty 2 Hotty and Rob Van Dam actually coming over next month to do 2 shows at our national stadium with all the Irish talents. Jordan Devlin is back. He's going to be there from, as you know, from NXT. So yeah, man. But when we go back to Katie Forbes and Rob Van Dam, what a couple.
Right? Right.
Yeah.
Well, first of all,
I know he's just like hanging out with her and her friends in hot tubs and just fucking living the dream, man.
you just want to be Rob Van Dam. That's all you want to do is just be Rob Van Dam. Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, Jordan Devlin, man, the Irish ace, NXT UK. I know he's doing a great feud with Ilya Dragunov on the NXT brand. Like he's another one that stands out. And isn't it amazing with the promotions too? You guys got over the top. There's in England, there's ICW, there's Progress, and so many promotions.
Yeah. Yeah, for a country so small as Ireland, like we have produced some great sports stars over the last, say, decade maybe. Like if you look at Conor McGregor, and then we've got Sheamus, we've got Becky, we've got Jordan Devlin, we've got Finn Balor, of course, a guy that is massively underused, in my opinion. But like, yeah, we seem to be coming out with these great sports stars though, out of our small little country. Only 3.5 million people here in the whole island.
Also, I think also going back to your point, I think what also makes sense is like we're talking about it's okay to have that sex appeal. And the reason why I put that is like, we talk about the empowerment thing with women, which is very true because we're seeing beautiful women also showcase their talents and skills. But a lot of people seem to forget that there's nothing wrong with sex appeal. That's why I like LFC, you know what I'm saying? And that's why I promotions. Like look back in the day, we had women's erotic wrestling. We had so many that really focused on the sex appeal, which is not bad because there's something for everyone. But it's like it's okay to have to accentuate that sex appeal because sex appeal, as we all know, sex sells.
Sex sells. I was just going to say it there, and you know, like when I was talking to a few of the fighters from lingerie, like they've all got their own separate projects. Like some of them are wrestlers, some of them are in adult movies, some of them are doing modeling, whatever it might be. And then it's like when you talk to these girls, you see like that, you know, it's the entertainment business, no matter what way you break it down, from wrestling to music to adult films to anything like that. And at the start, when I was like, because I'd never interviewed someone about adult movies before, until I started the podcast. And then I was kind of like, well, how do I approach these questions? And then I was just thinking to myself, well, look, this is just entertainment, you know. But when my friends or someone would meet me and we're talking, oh my God, you talk to someone in porn, like how did you hold it together? How did you do it? And what I've been saying is it's just an extension of entertainment. That's what I've learned from doing it.
So, okay, this is again where you and I are similar, and I love you, and I don't mean to laugh. That's the thing. People look at like,
but you know what I'm talking about because the same shit happens to you probably.
It's ridiculous because it's like people are like, oh, you interviewed somebody in porn. And I'm like, well, how did you hold it together? How did you go about it? I'm like, what do you think I'm going to do? The first question I'm going to ask, so how about that gangbang? No, you tell their story. And then we lead to the scenes of what have you. It's entertainment. It's an art form. If you look at it, anything and everything in life is an art form, Maurice.
What was it that, remember Laura Cross said something to me? Oh, what was it? I can't remember now what it was, but I lost it.
Okay, so go watch Maurice's interview with Laura Cross, who is one of the LFC prospects and sessions wrestler. She talks about, you know, I hope I lose this match because at the end of the day, there's somebody's going to get pegged. And she talked about
pegged. Yeah.
Maurice legit lost it.
I just did not see that comment coming, man, at all.
Well, I mean, in that world, you have in the fetish world, there's a lot of different preferences, and there are some people that like the pegging. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah,
things. That's what we're into.
Yeah, man. Like how many people from the, say, adult entertainment industry have you interviewed now? an awful lot.
A lot. Like, I mean, there's so many people that I've interviewed, from like your Ginger Lynn's, and we've like Rebecca Bardot's, who've actually been in the industry for a long time, and Ava Devine's. Like, and then you have people that have done stuff for like Plumper Pass or BBW categories or different categories. It's been like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. It's been
Yeah,
a lot, dude.
yeah,
But
and
it's a great market.
yeah, and like I always find that these people are interesting as well. Like, have you interviewed any male adult movie stars?
I do have one coming up actually. Smash Thompson, who has worked with a lot of.
Smash Thompson.
That's his name, bro. Like, he's worked with people as far as like the trans side of things, but he's a good dude. That's what happens when you interview these people and you trust them, Maurice. You can agree.
I love his name. I love it. Smash.
Smash.
Smash Thompson.
Bro, I've interviewed a woman and I love her to death, and she's from Las Vegas. Her name is Lacey Bangs, and simple enough, Lacey Bangs.
Lacey Bangs, yeah, that's good as well. Like some of these names are really, really. Like I was watching actually that Royal Rumble and that I was talking about earlier, and A Train came out, but he was known as Prince Albert at the time. And that was another good old name.
That reminds me of watching, and you've interviewed her, Carol Baskin, and watching the Tiger King when friggin' Joe Exotic's getting ready for that date. And he's like, "Oops a daisy, I don't want my Prince Albert showing," like that's
yeah.
Which, dude, we're gonna talk about that, because how awesome is that, from something that is so popular? And I knew one of the guys from the Animal Kingdom who worked in Myrtle Beach that got in trouble. You know what I'm saying? The oh god, what was it? Doc Ant. You know what I'm saying? Anthem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's in a lot of shit now at the moment, isn't he?
Dude, yes, he is. But still, like, that whole show really focuses on what we've seen from the Tiger King side of things. Like, how awesome is that? You get to interview Carol Baskin. And I'm going to say it right now, because you pointed out something as well. This will join together. But the first season I loved. The second season, it's not the same, because there's no Joe and there's no Carol.
No, and she knows that. When it was coming into season 2, I knew there was legal stuff going on between her and Netflix, and obviously Joe was in jail. You take out the two best characters out of a TV show, it's not going to work, and they had season 2 there, and it was okay, but I don't think the story can continue unless Joe gets out of jail and unless she becomes back involved with the production. But she feels that she was negatively treated, harshly labeled, I guess. And like, as much as people would say to me, like, I've had 2 people now on my podcast, and both of them have been accused of murder. One of them has been found guilty of murder it was an Irish case, but he wasn't found guilty in Ireland, but he was found guilty in France. People have said to me, well, I don't think you should be maybe interviewing like suspected murderers, but really, I don't mind. Like, I like listening to everyone's opinion. Like, I had Carol Baskin on, and a guy that was involved in Tiger King 2, Ripper, found my video. He was doing he's doing a lot of work on the Don Lewis case, and he wrote to me and said, "Oh, she's lying about this, and she's lying about this." And he said, "Can I come on your show to talk about it?" So he's coming on at some point now soon. But it doesn't bother me like that. He thinks Carol's lying. Okay, that's fine. But I won't go in on any of my guests. I'll give everyone a free rein. Like, I won't say, like, when he comes on my show to talk about why he thinks Carol is guilty, that's fine. But like, I'd still let Carol come on my show and give her side. I just try to be impartial, I think, is the word I'm trying to use.
See, I like that, because I had a similar situation like that. Because I remember when I interviewed Rodney Mack, like about, I'll say like 4 or 5 years ago, around that time, he was in that. Remember when all the wrestlers like were suing for like concussions and all that stuff? He was a part of that lawsuit. So I said to him, I said, Rodney, and here's how you go about it. Rodney, like, you're kind of involved. I don't want to talk about this if you don't want to talk about it. He was fine to talk about it, but you have to be impartial to stuff like this, because it's like, who are you to judge? You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, like, I'm from Long Island, right? Say I wanted to interview Amy Fisher. You know who Amy Fisher is, right?
Yeah.
The Long Island Lolita. Yes, she shot Joey Buttafuoco's wife in the face and she lived. But it's like, you're also hearing their side of the story and what went into it. You're not going to judge them, but it's also a part of history. And maybe some people want to know a little bit more about the details who are unfamiliar with it. So there's a lot of great ways, like you mentioned, the impartiality, but also just being, your true self and being a pro with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, anyone that you or me would both have on our show, they're on for a reason, and they're on because you want to hear what they have to say. Like, Have you ever experienced anything negative from having a guest on? We'll just say, you don't have to name names, but say if there's one person you had on and for some reason people weren't happy with it. Have you ever experienced, like I've had that, like with Carl, I've had it with Ian Bailey, who I had on. That's a whole other story in Ireland. Like he's the murder thing as well. People were giving out to me. Somebody said to me, "Why are you giving Ian Bailey airtime?" That this is one of the comments underneath my video, and I put why am I giving him airtime? I said the guy's just been on fucking Netflix, a documentary. It's like, why don't you go and attack Netflix or Sky TV over here is on a documentary on him? Like, why are you going to attack some guy who records in a conservatory in a little small town in Ireland? Like,
And it's interesting and right, exactly, like people will say comments like that like on your video and stuff, but I'm trying to think of from my standpoint, I haven't, but I remember like Ginger Lynn when I interviewed her for the adult side of things. Like I remember she was in jail for a little bit, like for I forgot what the reason was, but oh, I'm like, but like that's a part of her story. Like we didn't go too much into it, but I'm like, yeah, she was in jail, or it might have been for like taxes or something, but she's doesn't make her a bad person, you know. We learn from our
yeah,
experiences, you know what I'm saying? If you don't, you know, if you don't do the crime, you got to do the time. So I mean, that it's not that bad, but I've never had someone like go over the top. But people will obviously question me because I interview a lot of people in the adult entertainment industry. So you get that, and you would be surprised like the criticism that I've gotten from like LFC stuff, because it's like, oh, like why does he get to do all this stuff? And I've actually been accused the only reason why I do this is just because, oh, he wants to sleep with the women, which is not the truth. You know, it's ridiculous. It's funny, but it's like when you want to take like a personal like jab, it's like, come on, man, you're
yeah.
better than that, right?
Man, meeting these lovely women over Zoom, and no matter how nice you talk to them, it's not going to make us. It's like we're not going to end up sleeping with them in the virtual world anyway.
Oh, jeez, it's ridiculous too, man. It's just because they want to live out their high school fantasy, like it's Fast Time at Ridgemont High, and it's Jennifer Jason Leigh by the pool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Or it's like
yeah,
Rachel, or it's like what's her face? Was it Rachel? Oh god, that's gonna bug me. The chick that was in Stacy's Mom, The Fountains of Wayne, like that woman. Like, come on, you know,
yeah, yeah.
like everybody has that fantasy, that sweet, sweet fantasy, Mariah Carey style, Mr. DJ, chicka chicka yeah. But it's one of those things where it's just like, yeah, just people say stupid shit. People say stupid shit.
Yeah, yeah,
Now, as far as the DJ thing, as I did the chicka chicka, yeah, I got to ask you
yeah,
about, because, dude, you're a DJ. You do your thing outside of
yeah.
podcasting. You remind me of, like, I'll use a UK name, Stonique, when she had like that song "It Feels So Good." She was also a DJ. Here in the States, we have Paulie Deep. We've had DJ Scribble. We've had Grandmaster Flex. We've had so many DJs. I got to ask you about the DJ side of things, man, because
Mm.
how fun is that? You do a lot of great events with DJing.
Yeah, it's fun. It's not hard, but you just have to be the event promotion game, which is what I was kind of in. And then the podcast started with the shutdown of society and not being able to run anything. So I had to come up with a way of just keeping my brand, I suppose, active, and that's where the podcast came from. But to go back to the DJing, it started off we were running wrestling parties like the one we had yesterday for the Saudi show. And then from there, I was kind of like, well, I really love rock music. Cause like I'd love to run a rock night. And then you're trying to approach venues in Dublin to try and run these things. And there's already a lot of people in the industry in Dublin that do great rock nights and stuff like that. So it's very hard to try and get in there and try get a night or two. And I was lucky to get one Saturday night. I think it was in March, and I got the go ahead for it in November. So I had like 5 or 6 months to get ready for it. And our first night that we ran was new metal versus hip hop, which I thought was something different. So I have a guy, good friend of mine, DJ Daly, big hip hop guy from Nigeria, lives in Ireland, cool guy. So his thing is playing hip hop songs when he's out. So I said, "Do you want to come on board with me and come into a rock bar?" And he was like, "Oh, I don't know, like, coming into a rock bar." And I said, "Yeah, it'll be fine." I said, "The people are cool, man." So we went in, we done the night together, and from there, then I've been doing nights probably about 2 years now. I've been busy since society reopened again. I've been in Dublin 3 of the last 4 weekends doing events. Now I have a little break. Before I get to Dallas, I have a night on the 25th of March, and then I fly to Dallas on the 29th. And I'm booked in kind of for the year. But like at the moment, I'm just doing new metal nights. So you're like, say, Slipknot, Limp Bizkit, Rage Against the Machine, System of a Down, those kind of things. But also we're trying a few rock classics. So it's going really well. It's interesting. I love seeing the look on their face in a rock bar. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with being in rock bars, but like, it's just the passion of the people. Like, I've kind of given up now. I was doing like 21st birthdays and stuff like that, and I said, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to do rock nights from now on because that's what I enjoy.
We have a thing in Myrtle Beach called Celebrity Square. It's 9 clubs in one. Like there's a lot of rock nights there as well. So I totally get it. And I mean, when you have artists like Rage Against the Machine, where you're killing in the name of, dare I say, and you have artists like, Slipknot, where you want to go to the psychosocial. I mean, come on now, man. You mix it up with everything.
Yeah, usually see, I have a gig in Dallas on the I think it's the Friday. Yeah, it's the Friday when I get there. Now, I don't know, American crowds are different than Irish crowds, so I'm just going to go in at the deep end. But normally, like when I'm closing a night, it would probably be Enter Sandman, Killing in the Name of, Chop Suey, and then maybe Duality.
Like it.
Yeah, so very, very heavy end.
Well, that's a great selection all in all, man. I mean, I look at it from a stance too. Well, like also for me, what's great about rock music and also what got me into it. Now, I think you've noticed this as well. So the pay-per-view themes that we've had from WWE and so many, it's not the same as what we had back in the day. We have now, you know what I'm saying? Like SummerSlam, like we had Metallica. Saint Anger was the theme of SummerSlam 03. And then we go to SummerSlam 2015 and it's Demi Lovato talking about we're cruel for the summer. You know what I'm saying? Which is not bad, but it's just like when you want to hear something to hype you up for an event, it reminds me of, so you remember SummerSlam 07 that had like Triple H and King Booker and John Cena and Randy Orton the first time before we saw it like 1,000 times? The theme song for that venue was Wine Up by Cat DeLuna. Look at me, hip, go ahead, wine up and the wine up. And I mean, that's great, but it's like building up Randy Orton, RKO, and John Cena and punting people doesn't make me want to go, look at me, heck, go ahead, wine up and the wine up. You know what I'm saying? You need something.
Yeah, I missed the tunes. There were a lot of them were new metal based, like the likes of Limp Bizkit, Saliva, Cold, Korn were involved. Like there was a lot of bands that I would listen to that used to be featured. Now I couldn't even tell you what the theme songs are. It's usually Florida, isn't it, every year? So
and I think this year for WrestleMania it's The Weeknd.
Again, fuck's sake, that guy, man. He's done the last 2.
Yep, it's again with The Weeknd. I can't feel my face when I'm with you, but I love it, man.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Are they using that one?
No, not that one, but that's the big one he's known for. Is I can't feel my face when I'm with you.
Yeah. Are they doing this because it's over 2 nights now and it's a weekend? Is that why they're doing this? That is sad.
They could tie it into that and make it like that. I don't know, but that would make sense.
That is sad.
But no, like you said, like when we had groups like Stained with Price to Play for Vengeance on 3. Dude, I'm glad you mentioned Cole, because how fucking badass is that Year of the Spider album?
Yeah, it's brilliant. And I was actually fortunate enough to have Lindsay Manfredi from Cold on my podcast last year, I think it was. I have no perception of dates and times since the pandemic. Like all I know is the future. I can't remember what happened like last week. I'm having a problem trying to put in dates to things at the moment, just because of like the last 2 years, it was awful over here, man. It was really, really bad. Nothing was open and every day just felt like the same. So we've been back open now only for about a month. So I'm just kind of trying to get my perception of time back. And I even deleted the calendar off my phone. That's how shit things were over here. So I have to reinstall my calendar now and start planning things.
Oh my goodness. But I don't blame you. Like it was horrible for you guys over there. It was horrible for us, horrible for everybody. And I'll be honest, the last 2 years, like you were saying, with wrestling and just in general, I couldn't tell you because everything just blended and we're all just trying to live and not fucking die with everything that's going on, you know?
Yeah.
Oh man, but no, like going back to the Year of the Spider, like for those who have not heard that album, here's the thing that made it so good. Scott Steiner versus Test sucked ass at Bad Blood 2003 when friggin' Scott Steiner jumping off the apron and pretty much falling on his ass. Remember that when he tried to hit?
Yeah, but they used Suffocate.
Yes, I love you, Maurice. You Suffocate. Yes, that song was awesome, and it made me excited for Scott Steiner versus Test. Oh, I love this dude. But like you had Suffocate, you had Gone Away, which was a great song. You had Remedy. Yep, Stupid Girl. Oh, good songs.
And they're pretty active band. They've never played in Ireland, but they seem to be always touring the US anyway. So you've got a few big tours coming up.
Right. It kind of reminds me because I remember Vertical Horizon from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
They're constantly touring too. And I mean, they had Everything You Want. You had You're a God, which was a great song. Like they still tour and they still kick butt.
Yeah. Yeah. The music scene, the entertainment scene in general seems to be really picking up over in the States. So hopefully we can follow suit over here.
Exactly. Now, speaking of follow suit, I will say this as well, because we were talking about just everything that encompasses LFC from the entrance and stuff. Like the last LFC event, which was on Halloween, I got to say, being there from that perspective in the FSW arena, top to bottom, everyone worked their butt off. That's what you can get with an LFC event. But now it has been announced that Friday, May 13th is the next LFC booty camp.
Oh, okay.
Which is headlined by the winners of the LFC Madness 3, Amber Pixie from Italy against Betty Brickhouse, Mighty, letting it all hang out, a David and Goliath bout. Like, it's going to be fun to finally get back out there.
Yeah, where's the event happening, Mike?
The same FSW arena as the last one.
Okay. Yeah. So that's something definitely to look forward to. And will you guys, you'll have an audience, obviously, this time as well.
Yeah, like we had it for the last one too, but like I said, it's Halloween. It was on a Sunday. It was fun. Everybody got to dress up and do their thing. So this one is going to be even funner, man, because we're coming back. It's May. We get to see a lot of familiar faces, but it's great to see LFC back into fruition with another event.
Yeah, man. And like, hopefully it can be, it was probably a challenging couple of years with the LFC as well. I know they got to run in Sturgis and a few other things, but probably options were limited to run shows, but now that everything is back, like I think that this could be a really big year for them.
Agreed. And I'll be honest with you, I told this to Sean, and I said this from a wrestling fan side of things. I said, when Jim Cornette bashes you on his podcast, you know you made it. Did I ever tell you that Jim Cornette had some words about LFC?
No, that's interesting. What did Jim say? Cranky old Jim.
Goddamn son of a bitch. So what happened was 2020, when Chris Jericho was also doing his event with Fozzy around Sturgis time, obviously complaining about Jericho, and obviously he doesn't like Chris Jericho anymore because, you know, going there, it's COVID. What are you doing, Jericho? Goddamn son of a bitch. So, you know, his co-host Brian Last, that's on his show with the drive-thru and all that.
Yeah.
So Brian Last pointed out that LFC was going to be there, and he was telling Jim about this, and they were laughing. He's like, goddamn untrained girls want to go out there and fucking do their thing. Goddamn Sturgis, son of a bitch. And he was just whining like that. They're everybody's untrained. He like ripped into LFC. So I told Sean, I said, you know, you made it when Jim Cornette rants about you on his podcast.
Oh, I may try and look that up and listen to it.
I will definitely send it to you because it's still out there.
Good.
Really, it was Brian who brought it up, that sly son of a bitch, because it turned from Jericho into looking what would be there at Sturgis. And of course, LFC's name was there for Born to Be Wild. And I'm like, goddamn son of a bitch, Brian Last.
Yeah, when the whole Sturgis thing happened, man, it was just kind of like, right, who can we blame for this? Oh, yeah, there's Chris Jericho. He's the most famous person there. Let's blame Chris Jericho. Yeah, for a super spreader event. And it wasn't even like, from what I know, from talking to various people that were involved in it, there wasn't really that much of a big caseload that came out of that at all. Everything was open in Florida. If you're a band, right, and you're coming to play a show, and the show is on, and you're getting paid to do the show,
right,
why would you not do the show?
Exactly. And well, that's the thing too. I mean, people get safety precautions, which is fine. Like, you know what I'm saying? I know AJ Kirsch was not going to Sturgis, and there were people from LFC that weren't going to Sturgis, which is fine. You can respect your decisions. But also at the same time, it's like there's a way of doing an event there where it's safe. You know what I'm saying? Where people, you know, are still taking safety precautions, but we're in an outdoor venue. I mean, look at WCW back in there with their Road Wild and the Hog Wild, Eric Bischoff coming out on the motorcycle, and he had Jay Leno beating up, you know, Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. You can still do an event like that. And you know what I'm saying? Even during that time where it's like, you know, there's not going to be a lot of cases. You could still be safe, even if, you know, depending upon your surroundings.
Yeah. I think anyway, I think the whole COVID thing, I hope anyway, it seems to be all over, man. So we're not going to have to worry about restrictions and masks and cases and numbers and all that crap. I never want to hear anything about it again. And I was only looking up there because I'm coming to America. You know, we still have to go and get a COVID test done some kind. And I've never actually taken one because I haven't been that sick. But we have to go get this private test, or they won't let us on the plane to America. It has to be taken one day before we leave. That's the rule at the moment anyway, but it could all change.
Understood. I'll be honest, my dad was in Florida not too long ago, and I got to say, out of 2 years we've been careful. My dad came home and he had COVID, so my mom and I also, we did our precautions of just, to being safe around the house here. But my dad doesn't have it anymore, so it's one of those things where you got to be careful, and you never know. So I mean, I look at it from a stance too as well. There are stances where it's coming down, which is very, very good, because like you said, you're tired of talking about it. I'm tired of talking about it. It's the new norm. You know what I'm saying? You may not like it, but we're also in this somewhat sense of normalcy, the new normal, if you will, as it's defined. So, I mean, we just got to kind of deal with it.
Yeah, but I think even from our point of view over here, like even from the last few weeks with things being open and we've been back in bars and just hanging out with people, I don't think people are put up with any more restrictions or anything like that if they came back. I think like 2 years was a long time. I think the majority of people done what they were asked to do, and let's just hope it's the end of it.
Same. And I mean, from a stance too, it's like we need to get back out there. We need to live our lives, and people are going to get antsy. You know what I'm saying? It has affected people mentally. And like it does. It's affected a lot of people up in the old noggin ski badly. And it's horrible. But I mean, at the same time, we can all get through it. It's just think of it as another obstacle that we can come through in this thing that we call life. And also, I look at it from a stance too as well. We need that normalcy, but it also did give us a little bit of creativity from doing like home workouts and stuff and doing stuff around the house creatively. So that's kind of like, you know what I'm saying?
And it was a good time for me to start the podcast and for you to be doing it as well, because people were sitting at home. So there was more hope of getting guests, I suppose. But just come back to the podcast and we both do it as well. Do you ever just send an email to try get someone on the podcast, and I just be thinking then, right, how many emails has that person got today from people asking the exact same question? Because there's so many of us out there, and what would make them say pick you or pick me? Or I think the only thing I have to my advantage is I'm Irish. I think that helps me get guests. I really do, because the Americans and the Irish, we get on great.
Yeah, we do. But no, I love that, because I think it's from a stance too as well, how we email them, how we come off like I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to put this bluntly between you and me, Mr. Maurice. We're not fucking marks. We come off like pros.
Yeah.
Very professional about how we want to do it. And first of all, I take what I do with this, and that's my mindset is beauty, strength, and dominance. It's not just the name of the podcast. And I'm all about accommodation and comfortability. So if you have that good feel and rapport with the person, they'll pick you. You know what I'm saying? If they say no, they say no. But at the end of the day, it's just coming out of professional. What I always do is I provide my links so people know, like, hey, like this is like legit. This is a podcast and I want you to do it. Here's my work. So it's like you're sending in like a business resume.
Yeah. I've been very fortunate to have some very interesting people on. But like, yourself, like I would say that I'd say the response rate for getting guests on my podcast would be less than 10% from what I send out to what I get.
Yeah.
Would you find that as well?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of people that I get, and I'll say this as a podcaster, and there's people, if you get into podcasting, you're going to experience this too. People be like, yeah, no, I'm good. Or it'll be like, I don't really do podcasts, or I'm not doing interviews at this time. You're going to get a few of those.
Yeah. The one thing that I cannot fucking stand is when somebody says they'll do it.
Yes.
And then they either don't show up or they just go cold.
Oh,
I would rather they just said, no, look, I'm not interested. I'd say, yeah, fine, man, no problem. Have a nice day.
Okay.
But like I have a wrestler at the moment, and I won't mention him. He was like, yeah, man, let's do this. And I sent him an email back. It's like, well, when's good for you, man? It's like, I've got these dates. And I sent him like 2 months worth of dates, and he never got back to me. And then I was like, oh, I just sent him a follow-up email then. It's like, oh, did you get my last email? Do you want to do this? And he just went cold. Yeah.
I've had
when it comes to not being marks as well, like I'm going to Dallas, okay? I'm going to WrestleMania, but I'm not going to NXT Hall of Fame,
right?
Raw, SmackDown. I'm not doing that, and I'm not going to WrestleCon, and that's where it comes back to not being a mark, really. Like there's people at WrestleCon that I've interviewed over the last, say, year and a half that I'd like to go and maybe talk to, but I wouldn't be going to WrestleCon, sorry, to queue up and get pictures with guys and take selfies and get autographs. It's different though, because some people are into collecting. I'm just not into it.
I was that same way. I'm gonna say I was never the kid that, you know how everybody has like action figures and all these like merch and stuff. So for me, my biggest merch was like shirts, and that was about it. And I maybe when I was a kid, because I loved the Undisputed Championship. When I was 10, I got like one of those like replica belts, which was cool, like one belt. You know what I'm saying? I was never into that stuff. Like I if you do it and you collect it, great, but it's not my thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but like fair respect to anyone that does go to
Right.
WrestleCon, but yeah, it's not for me. But I'd rather meet the guys that I've talked to in a more of a social surrounding rather than something like that. But each to their own, man.
Agreed. And I mean, for me, it's like we get to interview these people, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I love just if I want to talk to them, I'll reach out to them and talk to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's great that we have the media and stuff for media calls like you're doing with AEW, and there's great media calls to ask a question. But it's like it's different when you're doing a media call and you're actually having control and interviewing them themselves. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I am on the media list for AEW, but they haven't been doing anything yet.
Okay.
I think a lot of that was set up during the pandemic, which was handy to have people coming in. So I don't know. I haven't heard anything yet, but I know I'm on the list. So when something does come up, I look forward to doing it. I know it's kind of only going to be like here you've got 60 seconds to ask a question to someone. That's fine, It's still just for the experience of doing something like that. It'll be nice when it does happen.
Of course. And I mean, it's a blessing too. Like for me, and I'll say this to anybody, and I think you can agree, no matter how much time you get with a wrestler, make the most of your time. That's what I've always make the most of the time. Like for me, like I remember, okay, so you know how Ross Foreman does the Impact stuff, right? Like he does the media for Impact, right?
Yeah.
So like getting to interview Deonna Purrazzo in the 18 minutes I got to talk with her about her match with Jazz and stuff, that's a blessing because Deonna Purrazzo is hitting on all cylinders. And I think you can seeing her talent from WWE to Impact and on the indies, like she is a star. There's a reason why she is the virtuoso.
Yeah, I think she's up there. And do you know who I like as well? I like Chelsea Green.
So underrated. So underrated. And people, I love her, man. I love you.
She's a workhorse like her husband.
Yes, agreed. And I remember, so here's a funny story. So growing up on Long Island, I used to go to the NYWC shows. When Zack Ryder was Brett Matthews teaming with Brian Myers, Kurt Hawkins, they were known as, they were Myers and Matthews, right? Managed by Prince Charles, who was not a prince, but he was just Prince Charles, right? So they used to come out to the Backstreet Boys, It's Gotta Be You, because Zack Ryder's a big Backstreet Boys fan. They used to come out to Backstreet Boys, It's Gotta Be You off the Millennium album back on the Indies.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Brilliant.
that dude has reinvented himself from the woo-woo guy to now just the guy that pisses people off at Game Changer Wrestling. And now they're the major players, which is like a takeoff, a Storm Incredible, the Impact players from ECW. I love it.
Wasn't his shirt that said "fuck Mick Foley"?
Fuck Mick Foley. Yes.
Mick Foley is like the nicest guy that you will ever meet in person from the wrestling business, but Mick took that with Mick seen that as a good thing,
He understands, and Cardona understands. He's been in the business since like 03. So I mean, it's one of those things where and it's funny that he calls it the WWE was my developmental, because that number one, that's ballsy, and number two, he's right to a certain extent. He's right.
Yeah. I think they certainly dropped the ball. I think with him, like he could have been doing a lot more there than he was. But same as Cody, he could reinvent himself. He could end up coming back there as well. Don't rule it out.
Well, they're the part of the Hardy Boys farewell tour. They're doing the Hardy Boys against the major players coming up very, very soon.
Okay, brilliant. And this is not going to be farewell for the Hardy Boys, by the way. But
I know that's what they're as, but still, I know. Come on, Maurice, I'm going by what they're saying. The farewell. Hardy. Yeah.
We're talking about Steve Austin coming back for the first time in 19 years here.
Right.
So Jeff and Matt will be around for a bit longer. Yeah, I think. Anyway, they're going to have to do a world tour.
The world tour, yes. But yeah, no, it's funny. And also what's great about it too is how amazing is that with that at the times that they were in the WWE, we never got a Hardy Boys like Edgeheads or Hawkins and Ryder match. How funny is that, man?
Yeah, that's actually kind of strange, isn't it?
It is. Oof, but no.
Lots of balls been dropped, no pun intended.
It's a good time, man. Now, if we do get Austin and Kevin Owens, first of all, I will go nuts. But number two, Austin, who hasn't wrestled since the Rock match at WrestleMania 19. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens going into Mania for that.
Yeah, I wonder what has changed between then and now. Now I know he was offered a lot of money to go to Saudi Arabia as well, but I understand The Rock was as well. And from a PR perspective, I don't think The Rock was ever going to do that. And maybe Stone Cold is thinking in his mind as well that he didn't want to go to Saudi for those reasons we kind of touched on at the start of the show. I don't know what's changed. I believe there's an offer of 2 million on the table, and it's in his home state, so that's got to be appealing to him, to have a 20-minute match, if even.
How can you not? I mean, if you get, well, it's the battle of the stunners. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, that's cool. Yeah. I think one of my favorite things that he said, remember when John Cena started doing the springboard stunner and Austin said it was one of the worst looking stunners he's ever seen?
Yeah. I think if it does happen, and it's looking like it will happen at the moment, I know that Steve Austin is going to show up in amazing shape. Like, I've got absolutely no questions about that. Mm-hmm. He's going to bring his A game, man, and it's going to be it's not going to be like the way you see Bill Goldberg now. Bill Goldberg was a great wrestler. He's too old now. I think he's got too many miles on the clock. Surely Austin, after been taking it easy for about 20 years now, he's got a good match in him. I have no question about that. And they're saying now at the moment that it could be a multi-fight deal, but I think you should just take it one step at a time.
Exactly. But how funny is it that we've never gotten CM Punk versus Stone Cold, and we could have come back for that around the WWE 2K13 game?
Yeah, that would have been brilliant.
Right, but we never got it.
Yeah, a lot of people are giving out about Kevin Owens, but like, I don't really have a problem with Kevin Owens facing Austin. I'd rather it be Kevin Owens and Austin than, we'll say, Austin and Goldberg, the match that we never got. I just think his bill is too old now.
Man, I was there at Mania 20 when he stunned Goldberg and he stunned Brock Lesnar.
Oh, yeah, that was a shit match.
Jeez Louise, man. And the problem is, it's like it leaked everywhere that Brock was going to the NFL and Goldberg was.
Yeah, he gave the middle fingers and all. Yeah.
That's the New York crowd, man. That's the New York attitude for you. You know what
I'm saying? That match was awful.
Terrible. Oh, I would not recommend it. Survivor Series 2016 and WrestleMania, yes. That, no.
Yeah.
Oh, but good times, man. It's a great time to be a professional wrestling fan. It's a great time to be an LFC fan. So I'm going to ask you now, since you brought it up at the earlier point of the show, who's your favorite fighter, Maurice?
From talking to the girls,
yeah,
you kind of get like a favorite from that way, Gotcha. And I just think that Bella Inc., I just think she's so funny, man, and like it's just so easy to have a conversation with her that I think I'd have to pick her. And plus, she can kick ass anyway.
Oh my goodness, coming off a victory over Veronica Valentine at the last LFC booty camp. She's a badass, sweetheart. I always call her like the Chi-Town Rumble, not to quote Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat, but the girl likes to scrap, man. I mean, when you come out of the gate with a roundhouse kick and a punch, like, come on, man, she likes to scrap.
Yeah, she told me that she started scrapping very young in her childhood, street fights, things like that. And man, she's really cool, really badass. I wouldn't like to piss her off.
No, I'm going to say this right now, man. I'm going to introduce you to a new term here, Maurice. She's very squirrely, man. She can come out the gate, man. She's squirrely with it.
Squirrely? I don't know what squirrely is. What does that mean?
It's like you're running around, you're squirrely, you're going out of the place. You know how squirrels move fast. You're very squirrely. You want to sprint around the world. Yep.
Squirrely. Okay.
Squirrely with it. Hey, man, that's America, man. I'm teaching the international. I'll get mollywop. You know what mollywop is?
I need to learn some terminology before I get over there next month, I think.
And we're talking about mollywop, right to the face. We're mollywopping everybody. It's like another term of punch in the face. Look up Urban Dictionary, Mr. Maurice. There's a lot of stuff.
Yes, Urban Dictionary. Yeah. It's a funny website.
It is. But no.
Lots of terms on there.
Absolutely. Hey, man, everybody has their own terms. I think that's what's amazing about the culture, too, from yours to mine, everybody's, man. It's the culture, Maurice.
Yep, and long may our friendship and cultures mingle. It's a shame I won't get to see you when I come to America next month for the first time, but I'm sure our paths will cross in person. And maybe if LFC get to Europe, maybe it'd be easier for me to go. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
We'll be there, man, and 1000% our paths will cross. And I will say this, just going back to something you also touched upon where you were talking about the emails, I'm going to say this right now. Been there when you try to set it up with somebody, or they'll cancel it last minute, or they'll ghost you. They won't say anything. That is probably one of the one pet peeves that I have about interviews. If you don't want to do it, just say no. Don't string me along.
Yeah, man. It's like if I emailed someone now and they got back to me in 5 minutes saying, "Nah, I don't really want to do it," I'd be like, "Yeah, that is fine," because you have to remember like that these people are getting asked for fucking so many. You know, you have to send the right email and have the person in the right frame of mind and in a good mood and whatever, and then you have a small chance of getting it. You know.
1000%. And also, I will say this when it comes to like interviewing and the podcasting side of things, what I will say about people when it comes to that side of things with the interview and you don't want to do it at all, it's one of those things where it takes the life out of you in a way, because it's just like you want to give them the platform, tell their story. You're putting in the hard work into it. And it's like you want to diss me just because, you know what I'm saying? It's so unprofessional. And that's the only one downside about podcasting.
Yeah. But that you rarely see that, you know. And for me anyway, with the way I kind of handle myself, I always just outweigh the negativity with positivity in whatever you can in life, you know. It'll just bog you down. If you think about that one stupid comment that some fucking idiot made like 2 weeks ago, forget about it, you know. Like I was running the party yesterday, okay, and I run wrestling parties, okay, and the way we do them is, it's nothing special. It's just you go in, you watch the wrestling, you drink beer, you eat food. That's it. So yesterday I got it on and got to the pub early and got me set up it was in a private room in Dublin. And there was a few people there that I didn't know. And I was like, oh, that's cool, man. Because like a lot of the time I'd know who's going to be there because I've made friends doing this. And the guys that text me and they'll be like, be there. But this guy came up to me at the end of the night and he goes, how come you didn't introduce yourself to us? And I was like, well, I don't know you, man. And it's like, I was just putting on this show and I was like, people just come in and watch wrestling. And he was like, yeah, but you're the organizer. You should be go around shaking everyone's hand. And I was like, this is not a vanity project for me, man. It's not about me. I said, I just come in and I just put the wrestling show on. I just thought it was weird, but that guy really pissed me off just because he had said to me, why aren't you going around shaking people's hands, like, or whatever? You know, it was just weird. But then that one negative thing that happened yesterday is I'm thinking about it today. That's the thing. I just need to erase it.
Accentuate the positive, hide the negatives, Mr. Maurice. Accentuate the positivity.
Yep, absolutely, man.
Absolutely. Now, what's great about LFC, and we'll talk about the positivity of the LFC, amazing women of all different shapes and sizes come in. I think that diversity also helps. But I got to say, for the LFC product in itself, if you've not checked it out, I always equate it to, dude, the LFL had the Lingerie Football League. And here's where it ties into wrestling. Do you know who was an alumni of the LFL that was actually in the WWE?
Oh, I know this. I can't remember now. I was talking to someone about this a while ago.
Okay. Do you want to hint?
Is it Lacey Evans? No.
No. I'll give you a hint. It's another blonde.
It's not Alexa, is it?
No.
No.
Okay, no. I'll give you a hint. She was, all right, well, she has a different hair color now, but she was in the women's Rumble.
Oh, you may just tell me.
All right. Summer Rae.
Summer Rae. Okay.
She was one of the, yeah.
And she was in the football. Is the football still happening or is that finished?
So the LFL, which has featured Lauren the Animal Fogel, who's in LFC, and Ty Emery, who is a LFC prospect and now is doing bare knuckle fighting and stuff like that. So the LFL was originally the Lingerie Football League, but they would later on rebrand to the Legends Football League. So they got rid of the lingerie part. Now it's just Legends Football League.
Okay, so yeah. That's probably not as
it's okay.
It's probably not as niche though, really, is it? No. You know, the way like lingerie fighting championships is pretty niche. Right. If you put the the girls back in normal clothes, you're just running another MMA competition, you know?
It is, and I think from a stance too, when you talked about the uniqueness, it's like when you have that on like MTV2 at like on a weekend at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and you see LFL comes on, it's like it's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, when you look at like 2007 when we had Wrestling Society X, which was on MTV, which was nuts because the only other MTV show that they would air was like Sunday Night Heat on a Sunday before the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And you have Wrestling Society X, which featured a lot of guys from XPW and many different promotions. Like it was something new. Mind you, got taken off of the air because of Vampiro and Ricky Banderas with the fireball. But still, it was something different, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Vampiro was a crazy one as well back in the day, wasn't he?
Oh my God, the nail in the coffin, the feud with Sting and WCW, the Juggalos with the Insane Clown Posse. My goodness.
Yeah, he's someone that I'd be interested in chatting to. I haven't sent him an email before. He'd be an interesting character, I'm sure.
Agreed, man. There's a lot of great people in this life, and there's a lot of stories to be told. And that's why we do what we do. And I'm going to say this before we do close this out. Maurice, it's really been a pleasure and privilege just to pick your brain as far as podcasting, LFC, and wrestling, and all aspects and facets of life.
Yeah.
Dude, we got to do a round 2 of this.
Yeah, I'm sure, like, you know, from picking my brain out, there's not too much in there, but I hope you had a good show anyway.
Bro, you're very passionate, and I love your passion, and this is why you and I are friends, and I love you to death. So I'm going to say this before we do close this out and you promote stuff. You're very multifaceted, and this is why I love you, from podcasting to DJ. I got to ask you, as far as podcasting goes, what advice would you want to give to someone? Because you started like pandemic, man. The pandemic was a brilliant time for everyone to do something. For you, what advice would you give for people who want to get into podcasting, DJing, what have you? What advice?
I'll start with the podcasting because it's something that I've thought about before and I've never been asked the question. But for me, when it comes to podcasting, and I'm looking at it, there's so many different types. So you have to do something that you're passionate about. That's the first thing. For me, doing a guest-based show, I need to be interested in having a guest on. If someone recommends to me, oh, you need to get this person on, but this person does, I don't know, let's say ballet or something like that, I don't find that interesting. So I'd recommend that you just, if you're doing a guest-based show, just get guests that you will be interested in. There's no point in getting people on for the sake of it. Secondly, be consistent. So I've hit 2 episodes a week since the last, I don't know, with time and everything, October 2019, I think. Or is it 20 or 20? I don't know, man. It's about 18 months anyway. I've done two shows a week. So consistency, and this is the most important bit. Set yourself targets of views and subscribers. See, the YouTube subscriber thing is like, I'm not really too bothered about YouTube subscribers. Okay, I hit over the 1,000. Once you get over the 1,000, you're eligible for monetization or whatever. But like, I put up a video 3 days ago, okay, and it's got like 70 views or something like that in my latest podcast, and I've got 1,500 subscribers. So it's like, why are these people subscribed to my channel? You know, why bother if you're not going to watch it? So what I've focused my attention on now is views. I don't really care about subscribers at this point. Like, you never see me, I'm never on my show going, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and do this and likes and shares and all that kind of stuff. I just have a person on and I interview him and I just upload it, and I don't really do any of that. Maybe that's part of my downfall in terms of subscribers, that I don't really push it. But for me, it's all about views, and it's just about exposure and trying to get it out there. And the best thing to do is, when you're interviewing someone, I find that try not to watch a lot of other people's interviews with the guest. You can do it maybe for a bit of research, but what I found with people is, like, they like to be asked something different. Like, you don't ask people the same old shit, like, because they're sick of tired of telling the stories. You're better off trying to get someone with a question that they won't expect, put a smile on their face, and then start the podcast from there.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of DJing, then that's just that was just something, like, you just have to. The only thing you can do is just try and start running events. That's the hardest thing. The hardest thing is to get your first few under your belt, and then if you have a love for it, then you can keep going. It's very easy now to DJ with the the way the world is. Like, I don't have to carry around bags of CDs or anything like that. I leave, I bring a laptop bag, and I go into the nightclub, and that is all I need.
Beautifully said and eloquently said, Mr. Maurice. And I got to say,
Yep.
guys, if you have not checked out the Cheap Heat Productions podcast, I'm going to say this right now. And here's why I love you when you're talking about not subscribing. So pretty much what Maurice is saying, I'm going to bottom line it like Stone Cold here and put it very bluntly. Maurice is not a self-promotional man whore, is what you're saying. Is that pretty much what you're saying there, Maurice? You're not a self-promotional man whore.
Yeah, I pretty much, I just put the stuff out there. Like, I don't know. I just think that whole like, subscribe, share, all that kind of stuff is just too cheesy for me. I just put the videos up, and if you like them, you like them. If you don't, well, who cares?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is the attitude, man. It's the DIY attitude. It's like, hey, watch my stuff. I got a great content, but hey, if you don't like it, it's fine. Deuces.
Yeah.
I like the style. It's very blunt. It's very straightforward, Maurice.
Yeah. Pretty much is. Maybe that's part of my problem.
Hey, man, we're still passionate people, and it shows within both of our respective works, and a lot of great people that we have both worked with, and it shows within the LFC, which I'm going to ask you, okay, one thing before we do this. Dude, this is going to be on the LFC network on Roku, so your ass is going to be on Roku, Mr. Maurice.
I'm actually really looking forward to that, man. I have to, I can't wait to tell people that I'm going to be on Roku. When is this going to be out?
This should be out very, very soon on the Roku. I'll keep you touching that, but it'll also be on my YouTube, folks, which you guys can check out. It's just Michael Lark. But yeah, it'll be out there, but we'll keep you posted when it's on the Roku. But we have a lot of shows coming to the Roku. We're going to be updating a lot more. So guys, if you've not subscribed, and that's all I'll say, to subscribe to the LFC network on Roku. We have events from the LFC, events from the LFC Exposed reality show, to yours truly on the podcast side of things, and so much more coming to the LFC network. It's going to be awesome. There's a lot of stuff coming. So please, please, please go to laundryfc.com for more details. And now LFC aside, and LFC being well oriented with this show, Maurice, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Cheap Heat Productions podcast, let them know.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you just Cheap Heat Productions podcast, you'll find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and yeah, we're kind of everywhere. If anyone wants to send me an email, just go onto the YouTube channel and you'll find the email address there. You can send me an email if you want to talk about anything, or yeah, I'm there. I'm pretty easy to access. Let's just say that.
And check him out on the TikTok as well, Maurice. You're doing your thing on the TikTok front.
Yeah, I maybe log in maybe once a month, man. TikTok is just not for me. I'm not into, like, I log into it, I upload a clip, and then I delete the app, and then I log into it maybe a month later. TikTok's not for me, man.
Jesus Christ.
I don't do enough dancing.
Okay, see, here's the thing. I try to put like inspirational stuff and shows, like to market our shows, right, to what we're doing, and that's it. But here's the thing, people, y'all got too much time on your hands if you want to do dancing and do like Let's Groove by Earth, Wind, and Fire and do like 20-second clips. Are you shaking your butt? I got more important stuff to do with my day, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. We're busy men at the best of times outside of this podcasting world as well, you know.
Absolutely. And before we do close this out, Maurice, it's a pleasure and a privilege. Do you have any other final words as well for the LFC fans and the LFC faithful, man? This is where I also step back. Any final words to the LFC fans?
I would say that keep an eye on this space with Roku, with different shows coming on board, with the pandemic being over. I reckon this is going to be a big year. Now, I know nothing. I'm only guessing. I don't know any secrets. You probably know more than I do, but I'm sure there's some exciting stuff coming down. And I want to wish you, Sean, and all the team the very best of luck, and get back to Europe.
I appreciate that so much and so wholeheartedly from everybody at LFC. Beauty, strength, and dominance, the three key elements that make women the work of art that they are. That encompasses all women and the LFC women. And Maurice, my final words before we close this out, besides thank you so much for your time. You know this boogie is for real. Thank you so much, Maurice.
Cheers, man. Thank you.